Newt Gingrich here, and I'd like to invite you to listen to my podcast, Newt's World. Most people know me as the former Speaker of the House, but I'm also a historian with a wide range of interests. I enjoy talking with fascinating people who are doing extraordinary things. I release 3 episodes of Newt's World every week, and I want to invite you to listen. Hopefully, we'll both learn something new. Listen to Newt's World on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcast, or wherever you get your podcast.
Simple man, that can only mean one thing on this program. All things self-proclaimed simple man himself. All things Bill O'Reilly. All things O'Reilly at BillO'Reilly.com, including his latest bestseller, Killing the Legends, The Lethal Danger of Celebrity, another huge, massive #1 New York Times bestseller. Mr. O'Reilly, sir, how are you?
You know, I'm working hard, just like you, Hannity. I think you taught me, but I'm working hard.
I think I work hard. I think I work harder than you. Am I wrong?
So. I will cede you that.
How do you see this election going down in just 6 short days?
Well, momentum is on the side of the Republicans, and they have a more urgent reason to vote. 2 very important things, because none of the polls reflect turnout. So the people who are angriest will turn out the most. And I think at this juncture in history, it's the Republicans who are angrier than their progressive opposition.
Why wouldn't Democrats be angry? Are they happy with the 40-year high of inflation, record high gas prices? Maybe they're happy with open borders. I don't know. Are they really happy with defund, dismantle, no bail laws? You see what's happening in the state of New York in spite of denialism by Governor Hochul. Are they happy with woke education versus classical education? I don't think they are. I don't think Democrats are as radical as their party representatives.
There's 30% of Democrats that don't care. All they want is liberal ideology. And then you maybe add another dash of 8 or 9% that hate Trump so much they could never pull a lever for a Republican. A lot of my friends in that category, very well-educated people, taking a pounding economically in their 401s and all of that, just getting brutalized. I say to them, you still going to vote Democrat? Oh, yeah. And, when the conversation evolves, it always comes back to Trump. Well, any party that supports Trump, I can't support. I'd say there's a, 10% component there that hate Trump so much, they'll vote against their own self-interest. So I'm a little bit more dark on the Democratic Party these days. I don't see it as a rational party any longer.
But if you let's look at 3 races in particular that you wouldn't think would be winnable for Republicans. Lee Zeldin now with a slight edge over Kathy Hochul. That doesn't mean he's going to win. It means he's in the fight. And for a deep state like New York, that is beyond significant. That reflects a possible tsunami election. Then you've got, somebody like Tudor Dixon going up against Gretchen Whitmer in Michigan, and now has a slight lead in that state. Again, not a guaranteed win. But if it is a win, that is a tsunami. And then really you look out at the state of Washington, maybe comparable to New York, and Patty Murray now is in the fight for her political life, a dead even race with Tiffany Smiley. Washington state is not a bastion of conservatism, Bill.
No, but it's controlled by just one county, as is Oregon, as is New York. And
by the way, the Republican gubernatorial candidate in Oregon, now that you mentioned it, has a very good chance of winning that race.
Because of the 3 in the race, not 2. But when you have concentrated machine power in places like Seattle, Portland, New York City, very difficult because they are pros at getting the vote out. They have all kinds of mechanisms in which to do it. You're not talking about a persuadable population. And so if Zeldin loses, he'll lose because of New York City. The rest of the state, including, I believe, Buffalo, will go for him. And the same thing with Patty Murray. The rest of Washington State will go for her opponent, the Republican, but King County could go for her big, and that would put her over. So people have to, I don't think that many Americans listening to us today understand there's a growing fanaticism in this country on both sides, on both the left and the right. A fanaticism that you and I did not have to experience 25 years ago when we started the Fox News channel. It wasn't there then. Now it's ingrained in the society, so some people, no matter how bad Joe Biden is, and he could not be worse, he could not be worse, they still won't vote for the opposition because of their fanaticism.
I mean, one of the questions I've been asking is, and this goes to a comment that Newt Gingrich made to me, is, look, one side is going to win and one side is going to lose. You cannot reconcile, you could use the term irreconcilable differences. How do you reconcile socialism versus capitalism? How do you reconcile, renewable energy, no domestic energy production, beg foreign countries that hate our guts for the lifeblood of our economy versus energy independence? How do you reconcile law and order at the border versus open borders and amnesty? How do you reconcile woke education versus classical, traditional education? How do you reconcile defund, dismantle, no bail versus law and order for safety and security so people can pursue happiness? I don't see any middle ground on any of these major issues, Bill O'Reilly. What does that mean for the long term?
It's not a good picture long term unless there is a red wave, which I think there will be on November 8th. So all of those things that you just pointed out are far too involved and deep for many Americans to even think about Hannity.
Come on, wait a minute. That's not that deep, Bill. Capitalism, socialism, law and order, or defund, dismantle, no bail. This is not complicated.
Over their head. All right, because there's always the propaganda.
Man, you're trashing the folks today. I give the folks more credit.
Some of the folks, not the people listening to you and me, because they're interested in their country. But there's a growing number of Americans not interested in their country. Look, Biden this week went to Florida and said in a speech that America has one of the lowest inflation rates in the developed world. That's a flat-out lie. Tonight on BillO'Reilly.com, I'm going to put on the screen all the countries that have lower inflation rates than we do. It's like 25 of them.
Bill, he also said, now this is the second time he's did this, he said he confused the war in Ukraine with the war in Iraq, and again misstated that his son Bo died in Iraq. That's not true. Sadly, his son died of cancer. He said he spoke to the man that invented insulin, who died before the president was ever born, Bill. This guy, and he says he's running for re-election.
But all of that stuff's not on the level of a president of the United States saying something that is patently untrue, that is hurting every American, and that's paying more for everything. So Biden denies there are any problems. He denies there are problems at the border. He says the border's secure. He says we have one of the lowest inflation rates in the developed world. Denies it. Just flat out denies it. And because the corporate media is allied with Biden and the Democratic Party, he can get away with that now, where he couldn't get away with that 10 years ago. Barack Obama couldn't get away with that stuff, even though the press wanted desperately to elect him president. He couldn't get away with that, those blatant statements of falsehood about policy. Oh, no, crime's worse in the Republican states. How many times have you heard that? I mean, these...
Factually, provably incorrect. All right, let me run through a list of states where it is now a dead heat. If you look in Georgia, Herschel Walker versus Warnock. If you look in New Hampshire, Bolduc versus Hassan. Fetterman versus Oz. Blake Masters going up against Mark Kelly out in Arizona. You got the Adam Laxalt within the margin of error in Nevada. Tiffany Smiley dead even in the state of Washington. As you look at those races that right now are at least even 1 point or 2 point difference, how do you see those races breaking?
54-46, Republicans control the Senate on Wednesday of next week, a week from today, when we'll be having another delightful chat.
I will agree and concur.
46.
54 is the number.
Yes.
Now, in the House, I think it's anywhere between 30 and 50. I'll go with 40.
Well, I'm talking to a lot of these pollsters as a journalist, and I'm getting trending. Wherever you see a governor winning big, like in Ohio, he's going to...
Or New Hampshire, right?
Yeah,
or
and Sununu and
Kari Lake.
They are going to drag the other Republicans over the line, and I think that'll happen in Georgia as well. Kemp is going to just wipe out Abrams, and that will help Walker. But Walker's not going to get 50, so he'll have to run off again.
That's December the 6th.
Right. He's got a good chance to win as long as Trump stays out of it.
Okay, so you have that situation unfolding in Georgia. You're right. I agree. You have it also unfolding in the state of New Hampshire. You have it unfolding with Kari Lake. She has a pretty big lead now in Arizona. You have it in a number of places. One place you don't have it is in the state of Pennsylvania, where Mastriano just is not gaining any traction, it seems, at all against Shapiro, seems to be down double digits. That doesn't help Dr. Oz.
Oh, but Fetterman is so horrendous, and it all has to do with Philadelphia. If the minority vote in Philadelphia stays home, I think it might. Remember, the World Series is going to probably extend into the weekend. That'll put Oz over the line. If Philadelphia turns out big for Fetterman, and there's no reason they should, crime is just crushing that town, and the minority poor people are experiencing inflation worse than anybody else.
The last two polls that I got into the inner tab show that Oz demographically is in the 20s with African Americans.
To get up to about 28, and a lot would have to stay home. But I think Oz has a 60% chance of winning that state. I'd be surprised if Fetterman wins, because he's so bad. And I'm not talking about just his infirmities, but this is a man who brings nothing. Tell me one thing he brings. I don't know what he brings. He brings nothing to the state.
Well, this is where you and I are going to disagree. He brings a lot to the state. No restrictions on abortion, a moratorium on fracking. He called the people of Pennsylvania racist, by the way. He has advocated for the release of more convicted murderers than any other Senate candidate in the history of the country. He wants to open up the jails in all of Pennsylvania and release between a third and a half of the prison population. He wants taxpayer-funded heroin-safe injection sites. He wants Pennsylvania to be a sanctuary state. And then, of course, that little shotgun incident where he chased an innocent African-American jogger down the block, and according to the jogger, pointed a shotgun at his chest and held him captive until the police came, and the guy did nothing wrong.
Well, look, Hannity, I mean, I should have said brings nothing positive to the state.
Oh, okay. Well, then, you see, words matter. That's why you have words of the day, Bill. All right, quick break. More with Simple Man, Bill O'Reilly, all things O'Reilly at BillO'Reilly.com. Then your calls on the other side, 800-941-SEAN, if you want to be a part of the program.
Newt Gingrich here, and I'd like to invite you to listen to my podcast, Newt's World. Most people know me as the former Speaker of the House, but I'm also a historian with a wide range of interests. I enjoy talking with fascinating people across a variety of topics. On Newt's World, we've had some extraordinary guests join us, like former Secretary of State Henry Kissinger.
Ending the war in Vietnam was a necessity in order to help heal the divisions in the country.
John Clifton, the CEO of Gallup.
The world has been winning the war against hunger for 4 decades. In 2014, it switched. We have a serious hunger crisis.
And House Republican leader Kevin McCarthy.
What I've really found the Republican Party to be, it's the party of the people, the working people of America.
I release 3 episodes of Newt's World podcast every week, and I hope you'll find my conversations engaging and informative, and hopefully we'll both learn something new. Listen to Newt's World on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcast, or wherever you get your podcast. Newt Gingrich here, and I'd like to invite you to listen to my podcast, Newt's World. Most people know me as the former Speaker of the House, but I'm also a historian with a wide range of interests. I enjoy talking with fascinating people across a variety of topics. On Newt's World, we've had some extraordinary guests join us, like former Secretary of State Henry Kissinger.
Ending the war in Vietnam was a necessity in order to help heal the divisions in the country.
John Clifton, the CEO of Gallup.
The world has been winning the war against hunger for 4 decades. In 2014, it switched. We have a serious hunger crisis.
And House Republican leader Kevin McCarthy.
What I've really found the Republican Party to be, it's the party of the people, the working people of America.
I release 3 episodes of Newt's World Podcast every week, and I hope you'll find my conversations engaging and informative, and hopefully we'll both learn something new. Listen to Newt's World on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcast, or wherever you get your podcast.
When the world gives you insanity, he gives you common sense solutions.
This country needs a course correction immediately.
Find your station at Hannity.com and listen 3 hours a day.
You know, while the Fed hasn't officially declared that we are in a recession, I think it's pretty clear to all of our wallets that we actually are. That's why you're going to want to start using, and I'm using, Upside. Upside is an incredible app. Now, when you get started, you download the free Upside app at the App Store, enter the promo code Hannity. That means the next time you fill up your tank of gas, you're going to get 25 cents or more back for every gallon you buy. Next, claim an offer for whatever you're buying on Upside, and you just check in at the business, pay as usual, with a credit, with a debit card, and you get paid just because you're a member for free. In comparison to credit card rewards or loyalty programs, you can earn 3 times more cash back with Upside. Download the free Upside app. Use the promo code Hannity. Next time you fill up your gas tank, you get 25 cents or more off of every gallon you purchase. That's 25 cents or more back for every gallon of gas on your first tank of gas using the promo code Hannity. All right, more with Bill O'Reilly, all things O'Reilly at BillO'Reilly.com.
You know, I've been doing a lot of radio this week. You might find this interesting.
You like my show the best? But you have to admit, this is more fun than any other radio show you do.
Of course it is. This is the number 1 radio program in America, the Hannity Radio Show, number 1.
Who would have ever thunk that?
I never would have, but it's true. But anyway, they're asking me about the Pelosi thing because of the book, all right? Killing the Legends, The Lethal Danger of Celebrity. And you know how people have tried to politicize that. Biden tried it yesterday. It's awful. It's terrible. But in this situation, it was about Nancy Pelosi's celebrity. This maniac wanted to go out, you know, take himself out of life, and he wanted to go out in a blaze of glory, and there was the vehicle. And, you know, it's a very fascinating thing because that is getting worse.
That is getting worse. I agree, and I'm afraid of where it might end. What bothers me is hypocritical Democrats that stayed silent in the summer of 2020 with 574 riots, dozens of dead Americans, thousands of injured cops. They remain silent. Every weekend when you have violence in cities like Pennsylvania or Philly and New York and Chicago, they're just utterly silent. And it seems that only when they can politicize crime do Democrats care about crime. I don't want anybody like Paul Pelosi attack like this, but I don't want any American attack like this, period, Bill.
And that's right. But the celebrity people, the famous people that are close politicians, have really got to sit down and think about their protection because
Bill O'Reilly
are out of control.
All things O'Reilly at BillO'Reilly.com. We will have you on next week. We'll go over the results by that time. Should be pretty interesting. All right, Bill, thank you. Rights, your rights, immigration, foreign policy, gender, marriage, all these issues are such a big part of the political dialogue today. We talk about them often on this show, and they're at the heart of much of the campaigning going on this election season. What did our founding fathers say about these issues? You know, we've moved so far from the founders' understanding of government. You're going to be surprised by their answers. Our favorite college, Hillsdale College now, has the best way to learn about the founders' deep and wise insights into the human condition. And today you can join Hillsdale professors Tom West and David Azarad as they explore the thoughts and ideas of our American founders. They have a new online course. It's absolutely free. The Real American Founding, a conversation It's absolutely free. What are you waiting for? The midterm elections are now 6 days away, and you can understand what the founders' thoughts were about the pressing issues of their time and how it impacts our time. Anyway, you can watch the trailer of the video, The Real American Founding, a Conversation. Just go to this website we've set up just for you. It's absolutely free. SeanForHillsdale.com. That's SEANFOR Hillsdale, one word, .com.
When news breaks, you get the inside story that no one else has. And the behind-the-scenes chatter that the mainstream media doesn't even know about. This is the Sean Hannity Show.
All right, 25 to the top of the hour. Thanks for being with us. 800-941-SEAN if you want to join us. We have said we will leave no race unattended to. We're going to pay attention to every one of them, especially in light of last year. We had on the senatorial candidate for the Republicans, Leora Levy, and she's going up against Dick Blumenthal. That would be a huge upset. Would love to see it. Odds not definitely in her favor, but we're giving it a shot anyway. We have a race for governor that's going on as well. 3 candidates running for governor in Connecticut. They clashed in their last televised debate last night. Crime, of course, was one of the major issues they were arguing over. You have a Democratic incumbent, Ned Lamont, independent Rob Hoteling, being soft on crime. And that's because they support the police accountability law passed by the state Democrats in the wake of the George Floyd killing. There's only one person that was on that stage that has a different point of view, and that's Bob Stefanowski, who was on the stage, and he criticized Ned Lamont for his police accountability bill, and here's how it went down.
But Governor Lamont, the head of the Fraternal Order of Police of Connecticut, said it, and every officer I've talked to, your police accountability bill has created a sense of leniency and corruption in the state of Connecticut. After that tragedy, I walked into that stadium 2 weeks ago, and I stood there for 2.5 hours, and I watched those families come in. And you're telling me after 4 officers getting shot in the same week, you're standing by a bill that was passed at 7:30 in the morning that said it was going to be revised by the legislature. It's unconscionable. It's unconscionable to the people of Connecticut. It's unconscionable to police forces. It's unconscionable to their families. And I don't know how these 2 guys stand for it, Darren. I'm going to fix it. We're going to repeal it. We're going to keep cops safe, and they're going to keep the people of Connecticut safer. It's as simple as that.
All right, Bob Stefanowski is the Republican candidate for governor in the great state of Connecticut. How do you see it lining up just 6 days out of Election Day?
Well, Sean, I ran against the incumbent 4 years ago. I lost by 40,000 votes on 1.3 million cast. And in Connecticut, the sentiment is much better this time around. It's not good for the state, but we've got inflation at 40-year highs. We've got a police force that has largely disavowed Governor Lamont, and we've got government getting between a parent and their child, and we're going to stop it. Your buddy John McLaughlin is my pollster. He's got this race in the margin of error. The last 3 weeks have been tremendous momentum for us, and we're going to beat him next Tuesday, Sean, and I'm looking forward to it.
You know, nobody would have thought that your race would be potentially winnable, or Lee Zeldin in New York is in play to win the governorship in the state of New York, or the case in Michigan that Gretchen Whitman can be defeated by Tudor Dixon, or Patty Murray defeated by Tiffany Smiley. All of these are realities now, or Don Bolduc now leading in the state of New Hampshire. It seems that the one theme that really resonates this year is the fact that Democrats have been clinging to this insanity of defund, dismantle, and no bail laws, and the consequences are witnessed every day by people. And then add to that the inflation, high gas prices, open borders, woke education versus classical education, and you got yourself a race, and Democrats seem to be clinging to these insane ideas.
Well, our capital city of Hartford is going to have the highest level of homicide that we've had since 2003. We've got cars being stolen every single day by juveniles, doing it 12, 11, 13 times. We've got catalytic converters being stolen. Governor Lamont's own state police force, his own state troopers, after he passed this anti-police bill, voted a 97% no confidence in his leadership. We've been endorsed by the police departments of Stamford, New Haven, Bridgeport, Waterbury. Every inner city in Connecticut is on our side, and people don't feel safe. Now, the economy comes out as the number one issue, but I'll tell you, closely behind is crime, and closely behind that is getting schools back to teaching reading, writing, science, and to Glenn Youngkin's point, leaving kitchen table issues at the kitchen table. Get out of the way.
Yeah. Have you been experiencing what so many others are, this unprecedented amount of money coming in from God knows where, and tens of millions of dollars being dumped on Republican candidates, gubernatorial candidates like yourself, and senatorial candidates?
Yes, we've had the DGA, Democratic Governor Association, invest heavily in Connecticut, and they're worried, right? Governor Lamont is a billionaire himself. His great-grandfather founded J.P. Morgan. He's spending $1 million a week on TV to attack me. These guys know they have a problem. They want to pivot to abortion and guns, and in Connecticut, those issues are largely settled. And you know why they want to do it, Sean? Because they don't want to talk about the economy. Governor Lamont doesn't want to talk about his failed anti-police bill. They don't want to talk about the fact that Connecticut has the highest education gap in the entire country, and that only 23% of the kids test at the age-appropriate level in math. It's been a horrible 4 years for this governor. He doesn't deserve to be reelected, and we need change. And in order to change Connecticut, we have to change governor.
Well, it sounds to me like you'd be the perfect person to do it. I know it's a little bit of a long shot. I know Connecticut is a pretty deeply blue state, but if it was ever a time that it's going to happen, it's going to be now. I'd like to see you win. I'd like to see Leora Levy win. And if that happens, it'll be a tsunami. It won't be a wave election. It'll be even bigger. And we wish you the best of luck in the next 6 days, sir.
Well, thank you, Sean. I can't wait for President Biden waking up next Wednesday, and saying we even lost Connecticut. That's what I'm hoping to do.
I would love those words coming out of his mouth. He may not know it's Wednesday, though, so you never know on any given day. Anyway, appreciate it. West Virginia, Matt is on the Sean Hannity Show. Matt, hi, how are you? Glad you called.
Sean, thanks for taking my call. I appreciate you, man. Just wanted to let all the voters in Pennsylvania know that you have got to vote for Dr. Oz. And I'm going to tell you why, because I work for a natural pipeline gas company. I'm not going to say the name of it, just in case some of the uppers are listening and they don't appreciate me calling, but it is very important that Dr. Oz gets voted. I've never had so much extra padding in my life until I got into the natural gas industry about 3 years ago. I was working I was in the Army right out of high school. I didn't go to college. I went from the Army into radio, and we all know radio is such a rich industry. And then I went from radio into the EMS. I was an EMT for about 6 years. And then 3 years ago, I was lucky enough to land into the natural gas industry. So it's very important that happens.
Listen, the idea that Fetterman's getting away with this lie that, he actually said in an interview in Philly today, I support energy independence. He's a liar.
He does not.
Because we have him on tape again and again and again. I won't play it now. I played it before, of him calling for a moratorium on fracking. And he's just lying. He's saying whatever they're telling him to say so that he can get across the finish line. And Democrats now are pouring tens and tens of millions of dollars in lies all over the state of Pennsylvania about who Fetterman is. We know who this guy is. He's literally the single greatest advocate for convicted murderers ever to run for the U.S. Senate. He's the single biggest advocate to release convicted criminals running in this Senate race. This guy wants taxpayer-funded heroin injection sites, a moratorium on fracking, no restrictions on abortion, sanctuary state Pennsylvania. He wants it all. He's a radical through and through, and I don't even think the Democrats care one whit about it. They look at him as a rubber stamp for their entire agenda, because he's not going to be leading cognitively the Democratic caucus by any stretch of the imagination. He will be doing what he is told, and he will be beholden to the Democrats that are now going all out to bail him out in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. It's not helping. I wish Doug Mastriano was doing a little bit better in the gubernatorial race. But with that said, Oz versus Fetterman, Oz has to win that race if Republicans want to have the wave election night that they're dreaming of. It's that important. Anyway, 800-941-SEAN is our number if you want to be a part of the program. All right, let's get to our phones. Let's stay in Pennsylvania. Tony is there. Tony, hi, how are you? Glad you called.
Hey, Sean, how are you? You're a great American.
Thank you. What's happening?
Hey, so my question to you is, when the Republicans take the Senate, how do we get rid of Mitch McConnell as being the majority leader? I mean, that guy really needs to get replaced. I just don't get how he articulates what the Republicans need to do to change this country.
The swampiest behavior that I've seen out of Mitch McConnell is the $9 million he sent to Lisa Murkowski. They have this screwed up ranked order election system, as we explained yesterday in detail, in the state of Alaska. And Kelly Chewbacca is the Republican choice. She is the conservative choice. But because of this system, you know, when it comes down to, and it will come down to Chewbacca versus Lisa Murkowski, unfortunately, the Democrat that drops out, those voters likely will have as their second choice Lisa Murkowski. That gives her a massive advantage, unfair advantage over Kelly Chewbacca. So ideally, the people in Alaska will understand how corrupt the swamp is, what they have set up in terms of an election system that barely anybody can understand, and the amount of money that and the deal that has been made between Mitch McConnell and Murkowski. Murkowski will vote for Mitch McConnell for a leadership post, and Murkowski will then vote with Biden 67% of the time, as she has been. And basically, you're getting a Democratic light there. It's not even a rhino. You're getting a Democrat. And it's so corrupt. It's so insane. I can't believe Alaskans are putting up with it.
Well, it'd be great if who do you think would replace him if we could get the votes to do it?
I don't know. Frankly, I'll take anybody but him.
Yeah,
but he did, that money, we have Don Bolduc. General Bolduc now is within 1 point in New Hampshire. He could use, some of that $9 million. We have Blake Masters in a tight race in Arizona. He can use some of that money. Dr. Oz could use more money because Democrats are dumping tens of millions of dollars into Fetterman's campaign right now. They could use it down in Georgia to help Herschel Walker instead of helping Lisa Murkowski. He is actively now involved himself advocating for a senator that votes 67% of the time with Joe Biden. And that's insanity to me. Kelly Chewbacca is not that person. She will vote conservatively. The people of Alaska prefer her. But yet Lisa Murkowski set up this, ridiculous voting system that most people can't even figure out or understand that allows the Democrats to help pick the Republican ultimately. And that's why you end up with a rhino Biden supporting Republican. All right, quick break. We'll hit the phones next. 800-941-SEAN, our number if you want to be a part of the program as we roll along. All right, listen, here it is, November, and a very anticipated month packed with important conversations, big decisions, especially in 6 days. For some of you, it gets very stressful during these times. Look, when you need to de-stress, you're going to want something that is convenient. Well, there is your solution at Master Spas. They can turn almost any size backyard into an oasis with their Michael Phelps swim spa. It's a premier piece of equipment designed by the greatest Olympian of all time. Now, whether you want to work out at home or just relax, the Michael Phelps swim spa allows you to do both and allows you to do it all year round. That's the best part. And you'll benefit from the hydrotherapy. Linda loves her Michael Phelps swim spa.
I really do. The kids love it. Anthony loves it. I love it. And we're using it year round. It has the therapy side. It has the swim side. It has the spa side. It has everything. And it's at the convenience of your home. I mean, what more can you ask for?
So like you're all going to run out in 0-degree weather.
We have and we do. Yes. That thing is awesome.
You're in your bathing suit. You're going to run out there in the middle of the winter and then you're all warm and comfortable and happy.
I mean, listen, there's not much I wouldn't do for that Master Spa. Let me tell you.
Anyway, Master Spa is energy efficient, 100% made in the U.S. And I have a special offer when you go to masterspas.com Enter the promo code Hannity in the upper right-hand corner. That's masterspas.com. Promo code Hannity for up to $1,000 off your Master Spa. The only hot tub and swim spa brand I trust, masterspas.com.
Up next, our final roundup and information overload hour.
All right, back to our busy phones. Texas, Kurt, we have 1 minute for you, Kurt. Glad you called.
Thank you, Sean, for taking my call. I'm a truck driver out here in West Texas, and I was listening to your radio one day, and they said the Biden administration was going to phase out all crude oil by 2035. And
correct.
Asphalt is made out of crude oil. So what are we going to pave our roads with?
I have no idea. You're asking me, it's sort of like they want, as Pete Buttigieg and Jennifer Granholm and Biden have said, we want to be energy independent with renewables. What renewables? They don't have a replacement. They have unilaterally, economically disarmed themselves when they don't have the technology to replace the electric grid we have. And they'd rather rely on Russia, Iran, Venezuela, OPEC, and Saudi Arabia than on our own domestic energy resources, of which we have an abundance of. Hundreds of years worth of needed supplies. And I'm sure in the interim, those hundreds of years, there'll be new forms of energy that might very well replace fossil fuel energy. But we don't have it now. So the idea that they unilaterally disarmed has put us at a great disadvantage in terms of national security. It has created the highest inflation in 40 years, the highest gas prices we've seen in our lifetime, and taken away high-paying career jobs from Americans. And not only would we be energy independent, we could be the richest country on earth and help out our allies in Western Europe that are going to be freezing to death this winter. But does that make sense? No, nothing the Democrats are doing is making sense.
David in Pennsylvania writes in to tell us about his experience with Relief Factor. I tried Relief Factor for hip pain and was surprised that it also helped relieve my shoulder and foot discomfort. After taking it for a month, I stopped. And sure enough, the pain returned. So I started taking Relief Factor again, and within a week, the pain was relieved. I'm now taking Relief Factor daily. Well, thank you, David. I've heard your story before. People stopping and then starting again because it works. As you all know, I had trouble with aches and pains, and climbing steps was brutal. Your first step to living the life you love, free from aches and pains, could just be to order the 3-week Quick Start for the highly discounted price of $19.95. After trying Relief Factor, over 500,000 people have gone on to order more. Try it for yourself and see what all these people are talking about. Go to ReliefFactor.com or call 800-4-RELIEF to find out more about this offer. That's 800-4-RELIEF. Live your best life and feel the difference with Relief Factor.
Newt Gingrich here, and I'd like to invite you to listen to my podcast, Newt's World. Most people know me as the former Speaker of the House, but I'm also a historian with a wide range of interests. I enjoy talking with fascinating people who are doing extraordinary things. I release 3 episodes of Newt's World every week, and I want to invite you to listen. Hopefully, we'll both learn something new. Listen to Newt's World on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcast, or wherever you get your podcast.